Good morning, Mrs. Henderson.
If you're listening to this, stay with me till the end. And yeah, drop the city you're tuning in from, because this story, it gets real. 3 days, that's all it took. 3 days after my son Andrew's wedding, I heard a knock at my front door that made my chest tighten for no good reason. You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't explain why? Yeah, that. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and glanced at the clock. Late morning, too early for neighbors, too polished for coincidence. When I opened the door, there she stood, Diane, my brand new daughter-in-law. Perfect posture, designer coat, that smile, tight, practiced like it had rehearsed in the mirror before showing up at my house. And beside her, a man in a tailored suit holding a leather briefcase like it was glued to his hand. "Mom Ava," Diane said, sweet as syrup but cold underneath. "Hope we're not interrupting. This is Marcus Webb. He's here to help you with some financial planning." Financial planning? 3 days after the wedding. I felt my heart slam once, hard, because I already knew what this was about. What she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that 2 weeks earlier I'd found something my late husband James had hidden, something big, something life-changing. And thank God I'd kept my mouth shut. But to understand how we got here, I gotta rewind 3 months. Back to a quiet Tuesday morning when my kitchen smelled like cinnamon and baked apples, and I thought life finally was settling down. I was making pie, same recipe my mama taught me half a century ago. My hands are older now, wrinkled, slower, but steady. Sunlight poured through the window of my little 3-bedroom house in Ballard, Seattle. Modest place, nothing fancy, but it was home. James had been gone 2 years. 2 years of sleeping on one side of the bed. 2 years of cooking for one. 2 years of silence so loud it felt like pressure on my chest. Still, that morning felt lighter, like maybe the worst was behind me. Then my phone rang. Andrew. "Mom," he said, voice buzzing with excitement I hadn't heard in years. "I've got news." I smiled without even realizing it. "What kind of news, baby?" "I'm getting married." I almost dropped the rolling pin. Married? My son, my only child, 32 years old and finally settling down. "Andrew, that's amazing," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. Who is she?" "Her name's Diane Sterling. We met 8 months ago. She's in marketing, smart, ambitious, beautiful." He paused. "I want you to meet her. She's big on family." Family. That word mattered to me. We planned a dinner. I went all out. His favorite foods, my good china, apple pie warm from the oven. I stayed up past midnight cooking because love makes you do dumb things like that. I imagined bonding, laughing, maybe even gaining the daughter I never had. But when Diane walked in my house that Friday night, something felt wrong. Not loud wrong, quite wrong, the kind that sneaks up on you. And standing at my door that morning, 3 days after the wedding, with a stranger holding a briefcase, made one thing painfully clear. This wasn't about love. It was about control. And what Diane asked me next, right there in my doorway, made one thing painfully clear. This wasn't about love. It was about control. I should have trusted my gut that first night, the night Diane came to dinner. I remember standing at the door in my best pink dress, hair curled, lipstick on, like a teenager getting ready to meet her crush's parents instead of a mother meeting her son's future wife. The doorbell rang exactly at 6, not early, not late, on time in a way that felt measured. I opened the door with a big smile. "Diane, it's so good to finally meet you." I leaned in for a hug. She didn't. Instead, she lightly touched my shoulders with just her fingertips, like physical contact was optional and slightly unpleasant. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Morrison," she said. Mrs. Morrison. Not Ava, not Mom, just Mrs. Morrison. Before I could respond, Andrew stepped forward, nervous energy all over him. "Mom, this is Patricia, Diane's mother." Patricia Sterling looked like money in human form. Perfect hair pulled tight, cream-colored suit, sharp eyes already scanning my living room like she was pricing it. "Oh, how charming," she said. "Such a cozy neighborhood." Cozy. That word came back to haunt me. At the table, everything I'd cooked that steaming and perfect. Clam chowder, grilled salmon, Caesar salad, apple pie cooling on the counter. Diane looked at the food like it had personally offended her. "Everything's homemade," she said slowly. The way she said homemade made it sound like a flaw. Andrew tried to help. "This is my favorite stuff, Mom. Tastes just like when I was a kid." I smiled at him. But Diane barely touched her plate, pushing pieces of food around like she was dissecting it. Patricia, meanwhile, asked questions. Lots of questions. "How long have you lived here? Property values still rising in this area? Seattle real estate's been booming, hasn't it?" I answered politely, but something felt off. These weren't getting to know you questions. These were assessments. When I mentioned James, how sudden his passing had been, Patricia tilted her head. "Estate matters can get complicated. Everything gets sorted smoothly?" I replied carefully, "Yes, everything was handled." "Any surprises? Sometimes men keep things separate." Diane cut her a look. "Mom." But it was too late. The seed was planted. The rest of the evening dragged. Diane stayed glued to her phone. Patricia kept making comments about investments and planning. And Andrew, my sweet boy, sat between us, trying to keep the peace like a referee who knew the game was rigged. When they finally left without touching the pie, I stood at the window and watched Andrew's car disappear. My house felt emptier than it had the day James died. That night, I called my best friend Rachel. I told her, something's wrong. She didn't look at me like family. She looked at me like an obstacle. Rachel tried to calm me down. Maybe she was nervous. But deep down, I knew better. Because nervous people fidget, they ramble, they over-explain. Diane didn't do any of that. She observed, calculated, filed things away. And over the next 2 months, she slowly erased me. She took over the wedding planning, shut down my ideas, laughed when I offered to bake the cake, called it too risky. Andrew stopped calling as much. When he did, he sounded coached. That's when he first said it. "Mom, have you ever thought about downsizing?" That's when I realized this wasn't about a wedding. This was about positioning. And I was standing exactly where they didn't want me. But what Diane and Andrew didn't know, what nobody knew, was that 2 weeks earlier, I'd opened a safe James told me never to forget, and what I found inside changed everything.
I didn't open the safe right away. That's the part that still messes with me. James told me about it years ago, back when his heart condition first got serious. We were lying in bed, lights off, the house quiet, except for the old clock ticking in the hallway. "If anything ever happens to me," he said, squeezing my hand, "promise me something." I laughed it off. "Nothing's going to happen. You're too stubborn to go anywhere." He didn't smile. "Promise me you'll check the safe. Everything's there."
everything I set up to protect you." I nodded, but honestly, I didn't hear him. I was too busy being scared of losing him. After he passed, I opened the safe once, just once, found the basics: house, deed, insurance papers, the will. Everything looked normal, clean, finished. So I closed it and never thought about it again. Until Diane. Until Andrew started talking like he was reading from someone else's script. Until the word downsizing kept coming up like a warning bell. One night, after Andrew canceled another visit, I sat alone in the dark living room and James's words came back out of nowhere. "Check the safe." So I did. I dragged a chair into the closet, reached up behind the shoeboxes, and punched in the code, James's birthday. My hands were shaking. Not fear exactly, something closer to instinct. Inside, everything looked the same at first. Then I saw the envelope, thick, yellowed, not there before, or maybe I just hadn't seen it. Written in James's handwriting, "Morrison Family Trust, Confidential." My heart started pounding. I sat right there in the closet floor and opened it. The first page was a property deed. Not her house, not Seattle. Something called Riverbend Ranch, 520 acres. I blinked, read it again and again. Eastern Washington, orchard land, grazing fields, multiple structures, inherited from his uncle 3 years earlier. 3 years? James never said a word. Their release agreements, tax statements, maintenance logs, a professional appraisal clipped to the back. $4.2 million. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I got nauseous. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The questions, the interest in planning, the rush. At the bottom of the stack was a letter, folded neatly, written just for me. "Ava, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." He wrote about his uncle, about the promise to keep the land in the family, about how he managed everything quietly through a property manager so I'd never have to worry. Then the line that broke me: "I wanted you to be loved for who you are, not for what you have." James knew. Somehow, he knew this day might come. He warned me without saying names. I called Rachel at 11 that night. She showed up in pajamas, hair a mess, eyes wide as she read the documents. "Ava, do you realize what this means?" I nodded slowly. They were circling before they even knew. Rachel looked at me dead serious. "If Diane had known this before the wedding, she'd have played you like a piano." That's when fear finally turned into something else. Clarity. I wasn't powerless. I was invisible by design. And now I had leverage. But I also knew one thing for sure. Diane and Andrew weren't done. Not even close. Because 2 weeks later, Diane called me out of the blue, sweet as honey, and invited me over to talk about my future. And this time, she wasn't coming alone. Diane's name lit up my phone on a Tuesday afternoon. I stared at it for a full 5 seconds before answering. "Hello?" "Mom, Ava." Her voice was suddenly warm, friendly, almost affectionate. "I feel awful. We haven't talked much since the wedding. Things have just been so busy." Busy, that word again. "I understand," I said carefully. Andrew's voice popped in faintly in the background. She was on speaker. "We've been worried about you," Diane continued. "Living alone, managing everything by yourself, it's a lot." There it was, the setup. "We were hoping you could come by the condo this Saturday," she said. "Just a casual visit. We have some ideas that could really help you enjoy retirement." Ideas. That's what people call plans when they don't want you asking questions. "What kind of ideas?" I asked. She laughed lightly. "Oh, nothing scary, just options. Andrew and I want what's best for you." Best for me or best for them? Sure, I said. Saturday works. She hesitated, then added, Oh, and we'll have someone with us, a financial advisor we trust, just to explain things clearly. Of course she will. After we hung up, I didn't cry, I didn't panic. I called Rachel. I'm making a move, I said. Rachel didn't miss a beat. Then it's time to armor up. By Friday, I'd already met with a lawyer, Robert Hayes, 30 years of elder law experience, and the calmest man I'd ever met. This is textbook, he said after I told him everything. Isolation, pressure, manufactured urgency. Next comes control. He helped me lock things down fast. New accounts, documentation, a trust that made the ranch untouchable. Then he leaned back and said, Now we wait. Saturday came gray and drizzly, classic Seattle. I dressed plain on purpose, cardigan, flats, no makeup. I wanted them to underestimate me. The condo was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, everything white and gray and cold. A man stood up when I walked in, mid-40s, slick hair, designer suit. He shook my hand just a second too long and said, Mrs. Morrison, Marcus Webb, certified financial planner. That name hit me like a punch. Marcus, briefcase, the same man who'd stood at my door days after the wedding. Andrew brought me water. Diane sat close to him, hand locked on his knee like a claim. Marcus opened his tablet. We're here because your son and daughter-in-law care deeply about your future. He started talking numbers, risks, statistics about seniors losing capacity. He showed me brochures for senior living communities. You'd be safer, Diane said softly, and happier. Who would manage my finances? I asked. Marcus smiled. Andrew and Diane, with my firm overseeing everything. Control, wrapped in concern. I nodded, played confused, played slow. Then Diane leaned forward. There's just one thing we should discuss. Did James ever mention any other assets, investments, property? My heart stayed steady. No, I said, just the house. The disappointment flashed across her face before she could hide it. That's when I knew they were fishing, and they weren't done yet. Because when I stood up to leave, I accidentally overheard something from their hallway, something that made my blood run cold and told me exactly what they planned to do if I didn't cooperate.
I told them I needed to use the restroom. Andrew pointed down the hall, first door on the right. I walked away slowly, heart steady, face calm. Years of being underestimated teaches you how to wear a mask. Inside the bathroom, I locked the door and turned on the faucet, cold water, loud enough to cover sound. I leaned against the sink, breathing deep. Then I heard voices, muffled, careless. I cracked the door just a bit. She's stalling, Marcus said. I thought she'd be easier. She's always been stubborn, Diane replied. No sweetness now, just irritation, but we're running out of time. Andrew's voice came next, hesitant, uneasy. Maybe we're pushing too hard. She looks overwhelmed. She is overwhelmed, Diane snapped. She just doesn't realize it yet. What if she doesn't sign? Andrew asked. There was a pause. Then Diane said it. Then we go to Plan B. My stomach dropped. What's Plan B? Andrew asked quietly. We petition the court, Diane said, like she was talking about ordering takeout. Conservatorship. We show she's declining. Marcus testifies she can't manage her finances. It's not that hard. She's not declining, Andrew protested weakly. She will be, Diane said coldly, once it's documented. I gripped the sink so hard my knuckles went white. They were planning to erase me, legally, permanently.
I flushed the toilet, splashed water on my face, and stepped back into the living room like nothing happened. "I'm not feeling well," I said, grabbing my purse. "I need to go home." Marcus blocked the doorway just slightly. "Mrs. Morrison, delaying decisions like this can be dangerous." I looked him dead in the eye. So can rushing them. Andrew walked me to the door. For one split second, when Diane wasn't looking, guilt flashed across his face. "Mom," he whispered, "we're just trying to help." I touched his cheek like I used to when he was little. "I know, sweetheart." But I wasn't sure I believed it anymore. That night, Rachel and I listened to the recording together. Every word, every threat, every calculated pause. Rachel slammed her hand on the table. "They're not helping, they're hunting." The next morning, my lawyer listened too. "This just crossed into criminal territory," Hayes said quietly. "They're planning elder abuse." "I don't want my son destroyed," I said. Hayes nodded. "Then we do this clean. We let them come to you." And that's when the plan changed. I called Diane that afternoon. "You're right," I said softly. "I've been scared of change. Maybe it's time we talk seriously." Her relief was instant. "We'll come by Saturday with Marcus and a notary." Perfect. Because this time, I wouldn't be alone. And when they walked into my house with documents ready and pens in hand, they had no idea the trap was already set and that the truth was about to explode right in front of my son.
Saturday morning came way too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I woke up early, made coffee I didn't drink, and sat at my kitchen table staring at the same four walls I'd lived in for 35 years. This house had seen birthdays, scraped knees, Christmas mornings, and James's last breath. And now it was about to see a war. At noon, Rachel arrived. No jokes, no small talk, just a long hug. "You ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be." At 1:30, my lawyer Robert Hayes showed up, calm as ever, carrying a leather folder thick enough to scare grown adults. 10 minutes later, Daniel Brooks arrived, an investigator from the county's Elder Protection Unit. Quiet guy, sharp eyes, badge clipped inside his jacket. They stayed in the kitchen, out of sight. Hidden camera was already running, audio recorder checked twice. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. Andrew stood there first. He looked tired, older, like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. Behind him, Diane. Perfect hair, perfect smile, cold eyes. And right behind her, Marcus, briefcase in hand, plus a fourth man I didn't recognize. "This is Paul," Diane said cheerfully. "He's a mobile notary, just to make things easy." "Of course he is." "Come in," I said. They stepped into my living room like they owned it. Marcus wasted no time. Papers out, pen ready. "Mrs. Morrison," he said, smiling like a shark, "we're glad you've decided to move forward. Once we get these signed, we can make everything official today." Everything. He laid the documents across my coffee table. Power of attorney, asset management contracts, house listing agreement, senior living application, all pre-filled, all waiting for my signature. "We even secured your spot," Diane said proudly, sliding a check across the table. $10,000 deposit. You can reimburse us after the house sells. After my house sells. I picked up the power of attorney and read it slowly. "This gives you control over my finances," I said. "Yes," Marcus replied smoothly. "And medical decisions. That's standard. And property. For your protection. Once I sign this, can I change my mind?" Marcus hesitated, just a fraction.
Well, technically yes, but it would require legal action. In other words, no. I looked at Andrew. Do you really think I can't manage my own life? He swallowed. Mom, we just want to be prepared. Prepared to take over. Prepared to erase me. Diane leaned forward, losing patience. We've done all this work. You asked us to help. No, I said quietly. I didn't. The room shifted. Marcus cleared his throat. Mrs. Morrison, emotions can cloud judgment. You're 69, living alone, and perfectly competent, I cut in. The notary shifted in his chair. Ma'am, I need to confirm. Are you signing willingly? I set the papers down. No. Silence slammed into the room. Diane stood up. Excuse me? I'm not signing anything. Marcus snapped his briefcase shut. Then we'll have to explore other options. Other options? I asked calmly. Diane didn't answer. She didn't have to, because I already knew. I stood up and said the words that cracked everything wide open. You mean conservatorship? Andrew froze. What? He whispered. I heard you in your hallway. Plan B. Court declaring me incompetent. Diane's face drained of color. Marcus stepped back, and that's when I said, Robert, Daniel, you can come in now. The look on Diane's face when my lawyer and a county investigator walked into the room, yeah, that's when the masks finally fell. The room went dead quiet. Robert Hayes walked in first, tall, calm, legal confidence written all over him. Right behind him came Daniel Brooks, badge out, eyes sharp, already recording. Diane's face went pale. Marcus actually took a step back. The notary looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. What is this? Diane snapped, forcing a laugh that didn't land. This is a family discussion. No, Hayes said evenly. This is a documented case of attempted elder financial exploitation. Andrew's mouth opened. No words came out. Brooks held up his badge. Daniel Brooks, King County Elder Protection Unit. This meeting is now part of an official investigation. The air shifted. Marcus tried to recover. There's been a misunderstanding. Everything here was done with good intentions. Hayes picked up the power of attorney. This document gives full control over Mrs. Morrison's finances and medical decisions, with no sunset clause and extreme restrictions on revocation. That's not protective, that's predatory. That language is standard, Marcus said stiffly. For someone planning to trap an elderly client, Hayes shot back. Brooks turned to the notary. Sir, were you informed this signing was under investigation? The man shook his head so fast his glasses slipped. I was told this was voluntary. I didn't know. You do now, Brooks said. Please remain seated. Andrew finally found his voice. Mom, what's happening? I looked at my son, really looked at him. This, I said softly, is what happens when love gets replaced with control. Diane exploded. This is ridiculous. We were helping her. She's old, alone. Stop, Brooks said sharply. You don't get to define her capacity. Hayes opened his folder. Mrs. Morrison has undergone a full cognitive evaluation. Perfect results. She's legally and medically competent. Andrew's face went white. Diane turned to Marcus. You said this was safe. Marcus avoided her eyes. Brooks stepped forward. Miss Sterling, we also reviewed your background. Diane stiffened. 3 prior cases, Brooks continued, flipping pages. Elder clients, similar financial pressure, similar planning meetings, all settled quietly. Andrew grabbed the folder from Brooks' hand, skimming fast. No, he whispered, this can't be real. It is, Hayes said calmly, and if this meeting had ended with signatures, criminal charges would have followed. Marcus snapped. You can't prove intent. Brooks tapped the recorder on my coffee table. Actually, we can. I pressed play. Diane's voice filled the room. Then we go to plan B. We show she's declining. It's not that hard to build a case. Andrew staggered back like he'd been hit. "You were born to have my mom declared incompetent?" Diane asked. She didn't answer. That told him everything. "I trusted you," Andrew said, voice breaking. Diane crossed her arms. "If you want to throw away our future because of her paranoia, that's on you. Her, not me." Brooks shut his notebook. "This meeting is concluded. You are all instructed not to contact Mrs. Morrison outside legal counsel." Marcus gathered his things in silence. The notary bolted. Andrew stood frozen. I walked over, took his hands, and said the hardest words I've ever spoken. "You don't get to choose silence anymore." Andrew left that day without his wife, and 3 days later he showed up at my door alone, asking a question that shattered what little peace I had left.
3 days passed. No calls, no texts, no updates. I didn't sleep much. Every sound outside made me look up. Every memory of Andrew as a little boy came crashing back. His first bike, his laugh, the way he used to run into the house yelling, "Mom, I'm home." On the 4th morning, the knock came. Soft, hesitant, not like Diane's. When I opened the door, Andrew stood there alone. No suit, no confidence, no shield. Just my son. "Mom," he said quietly, "can I come in?" I stepped aside. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his hands like they didn't belong to him. "Didn't know," he said finally. "I swear I didn't know how far it went." I poured coffee and sat across from him. "You knew enough." That hurt him, I could tell. "She kept saying you were struggling," he said, "that you were lonely, that you needed help and were too proud to ask." "And you believed her?" "I wanted to," he admitted. "It was easier than admitting I was letting someone else speak for you." Silence filled the space. "Did you love her?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "I thought I did, or maybe I loved the version of myself I was when I was with her." That hit home. I reached across the table and held his hand. Loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy your conscience. Tears fell, quiet ones, the kind that don't ask permission. "She knew exactly what she was doing," he whispered, "and I let it happen." "Yes," I said gently, "but now you see it." Andrew looked up at me. "Are you okay?" I smiled, tired but real. "I will be." He stayed for hours. We talked, cried, ate soup like old times. It wasn't fixed, but it was honest. Before he left, he turned at the door. "Mom, is there anything else I don't know?" I paused. James's letter flashed through my mind. The ranch, the trust, the protection. "No," I said, "not yet. Some truths don't heal, they test." Because the very next week, Diane made her final move, one that forced me to decide whether I would protect my son or finally protect myself. I should have known Diane wouldn't disappear quietly. People like her never do. A week after Andrew came back, after the tears, the apologies, the fragile rebuilding, I got an envelope in the mail. Thick, official. My name typed in bold. Court letterhead. I sat down before opening it. That instinct saved me. Notice of petition for conservatorship, filed by Diane Sterling Morrison. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. Instead, I felt something settle deep in my chest, solid and cold. So this was her last card. She's really doing it,
Andrew said when I showed him the papers later that afternoon. His voice cracked. After everything? Yes, I replied calmly, because control doesn't let go easy. The petition claimed I was confused, emotionally unstable, and unable to manage complex financial decisions. She even cited my emotional reaction at the planning meeting as evidence. Rachel read it and snorted. Girl really said if I can't win, I'll burn the board. Robert Hayes wasn't amused, but he wasn't worried either. This is weak, he said during our emergency meeting, desperation filing, but we'll treat it seriously. The court date was set for 3 weeks out. 3 weeks where Diane tried everything. Emails from new lawyers, concerned texts from unknown numbers, a voicemail where she cried and said she was just scared for me. I didn't respond to a single one. Andrew blocked her. That hurt him, but it freed him too. On the day of the hearing, I wore a navy blue suit and my wedding ring. James would have approved. The courtroom smelled like old paper and nerves. Diane sat across from me, perfectly composed. She didn't look at Andrew once. Her lawyer painted a picture of a lonely widow overwhelmed with grief and assets. He talked about protection, safety, structure. Then Robert stood. He presented my medical evaluations, my independent financial records, the recordings, the background investigations, and finally, Andrew stood. I'm here because I almost lost my mother, not to age, not to illness, but to manipulation. Diane stared straight ahead. The judge didn't. When the ruling came, it was fast. Petition denied. But it didn't stop there. The judge referred the case to the state for formal investigation into attempted elder abuse. Diane finally looked at me then. Not angry, afraid. Outside the courthouse, Andrew hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. I should have protected you sooner, he said. I kissed his cheek. You're here now. That night, I went home, opened James's letter again, and made a decision. It was time to stop hiding, because power isn't something you bury forever. And when I finally revealed the truth about what James left me, the secret no one saw coming, it changed not just my life, but my son's future, too. I told Andrew the next morning. We sat at the same kitchen table where he'd once spilled juice as a toddler and cried like the world was ending. Your dad left something I never told anyone about, I said. He looked up, instantly alert. Mom? What do you mean? I went to the bedroom closet, pulled out the folder, and set it in front of him. He read slowly, then faster. Then he stopped breathing altogether. 500 acres? He whispered. $4 million? About that, I said calmly. He looked at me like I was a stranger. And Diane didn't know? No. He exhaled hard. If she had, she would have finished the job, I said. Andrew closed the folder with shaking hands. She wasn't protecting me, or you. She was hunting. That word again. Hunting. We talked for hours about trust, about blindness, about how easy it is to confuse love with loyalty. I should have asked more questions, he said. I should have listened. Yes, I replied, but now you do. The investigation moved fast. Marcus lost his license. The notary cut a deal. Diane's past followed her into the light. She filed for a divorce 2 weeks later. No alimony, no claims. She walked away empty-handed. Rachel popped champagne like it was New Year's Eve. You just survived a predator, she said. Most people don't. I shook my head. I didn't survive. I woke up. That summer, Andrew came with me to Riverbend Ranch for the first time. Wide open sky, apple trees in bloom, wind that smells like possibility. "This was Dad's way of protecting you," Andrew said quietly. "Yes, and now it's my turn." I set up scholarships, supported elder advocacy groups, made sure no one could ever corner me again. And Andrew, he started over, slower, wiser, humble. Some lessons hurt, but they saved lives. And just when I thought the storm was over, Diane tried one last desperate move, one that forced me to choose forgiveness or the final line.
Diane reached out 3 months later, not through lawyers, not through threats, through a letter, handwritten. That alone told me she was desperate. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the counter for 2 full days, like unopened mail from a past life. When I finally did, her words spilled out fast. No polish, no control. She said she was sorry, said she'd lost everything, said she never meant for it to go that far. She blamed stress, her upbringing, fear. Not once did she say the word choice. Andrew read it with me. He didn't speak. When I looked at him, I saw grief, not love, but loss of illusion. "She wants forgiveness," he said quietly. "She wants relief," I replied. "There's a difference." That night, I sat alone and thought about James, about what forgiveness meant to him, about protection. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. I wrote her back. 1 page, clean, simple. "I forgive you, but I don't trust you, and you will never be part of my life again. No anger, no threats, just a closed door." Andrew mailed it himself. The next week, the case went public. Diane's name hit local news, not as a villain, but as a warning. Elder abuse isn't loud. It wears perfume, smiles politely, says it's helping. I started speaking at community centers, not as a victim, but as someone who caught it in time. People listened. Andrew sat in the front row every time. Some wounds don't heal quietly. They teach. And in the end, the biggest lesson wasn't about money or betrayal. It was about what happens when a woman finally stops shrinking herself to keep the peace. For most of my life, I'd learned to soften myself, lower my voice, explain my decisions, apologize for taking up space. That habit doesn't die easy. But after everything, after Diane, the court, the truth, I realized something simple and brutal. Shrinking myself never kept the peace. It just made me easier to push. So I stopped. I repainted the living room the color James always loved, but I'd been saving for later. I joined a hiking group even though my knees complained. I laughed louder, said no faster, said yes only when I meant it. People noticed. Some were proud, some were uncomfortable. That told me everything. Andrew noticed most of all. He started asking questions again, real ones, about his dad, about choices, about how easy it is to mistake charm for character. "I'm relearning how to trust myself," he said one night over dinner. "That's adulthood," I told him. "Nobody warns you it comes with a receipt." We visited the ranch more often, not to manage it, but to feel it. The land grounded us, reminded us that some things grow best when you don't rush them. I didn't announce my wealth. I didn't flash it. Power doesn't need noise. But I used it, quietly, intentionally. Legal workshops for seniors, emergency funds for women starting over, scholarships with James's name on them. No press, no plaques. I wasn't fixing the world. I was fixing my corner. And that's enough. But closure doesn't always come from success. It comes from one final conversation, and Andrew wasn't done asking questions.
Andrew asked to talk one Sunday morning. No agenda, no rush, just coffee and honesty. "I need to say this out loud," he said. "I didn't just miss the signs. I ignored them." I let him finish. "I wanted the life she promised," he continued. "The image, the speed, and I didn't protect you." "You're saying it now," I said. "That matters." He nodded. "I don't want to repeat that mistake with anyone." We talked about boundaries, about how love doesn't demand silence, about how family isn't obedience, it's care. "I'm proud of you," I told him, "not because you were perfect, but because you changed." He smiled, small, real. Before he left, he stopped at the door and, "Thank you for choosing yourself." I watched him go, and for the first time in a long while, I felt light, not free of scars, free of fear. And with that, the story didn't end with revenge or riches, but with something quieter, something earned. People ask me what I gained. Money? Sure. Security? Absolutely. But that's not what I kept. I kept my name, my voice, my right to decide. I kept the house that holds my memories and the land that holds my future. I kept my son, changed but present. I kept James's promise, finally understood, and I kept a lesson worth sharing. If someone rushes you, questions your capacity, or wraps control in concern, pause. Ask why. Protect yourself. Love doesn't corner you. It stands beside you. If this story touched you, remember this. It's never too late to choose yourself. Not at 20, not at 69, not ever. And if you're listening right now, wondering whether you're too much, you're not. You're just standing in the wrong room. Thank you for listening to our journey. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'd love to know, what would you have done in my place? Tell us in the comments.